Hi, I'm Kenny Joya. Welcome to another one of my tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you the sends and buses in Reaper. I have a project in front of me here where I've already created a track right here with a piano audio file on it. Let's hear it. Now, the reason we're hearing the audio through our speakers is because the master parent send is turned on this track. And we can see that if we go to the routing, right over here, this is the master parent send. This is going to send all the audio from our tracks to our master and to our speakers, which is why we hear it. So if we turn this off and play it, we could see it's still playing, but we're not hearing it. So we turn it back on right over here. Now, if we take a look at the button, it changes color depending on what it's doing. This cyan or greenish color is on when the master parent send is on, but if we turn it off, it goes away, letting us know that it's not going to the master parent send, which is why we don't hear it. And we could also right-click the button and turn it on right here. It changes the button, and now we hear the piano. And we could also use a modifier and just click it. On PC, it's Alt, and on Mac, it's Option. Just click it to turn it off, or click it again to turn it on. Now, you're probably thinking, why would you want to turn it off? If we want to send it to another track or a bus, we might want to turn it off on its own track. For example, let's create another track down here, name it bus, and let's bus this track to this track using a send. Hit the routing button and go down here to add new send and send it to track 2, bus. So now it's sending from this track to this track. So we're going to hear it in both places. Or we could turn it off right here and just hear it down here. So now we're just hearing the piano through this track, even though it's playing from this track. And if you notice, the button now looks a bit different. Instead of seeing that cyan or green color, now we see the yellow color, letting us know it's being sent somewhere else, but not the master parent send. In this case, it's being sent to this track. And we can see there's a receive on this track right here with the bluish color, letting us know this track is receiving a send from this track. So let's take a look at the parameters on the send. Once again, a send is down here. We can adjust the level right here. And that just controls our send or the pan. We can mute it, invert the phase or polarity. We could switch it to mono. And now it's a mono send. And we can also change where in the signal chain it's sending from. By default, it's post fader. So if we change the fader over here or over here, which is the same thing, it's going to affect the send level. Which is useful for effect sends or buses. But we could also change it to pre-fader or pre-fader pre-effects. This is more useful for headphone mixes. We want to create a separate headphone mix compared to the mix in the control room. So now they're completely separate. So if we turn this down, it doesn't affect our send, because because they're completely separate. But by default, they're post-fader. Let's delete this send. Now there's a quicker way of creating sends. Instead of opening up the routing button each time, we can just drag and drop from the routing button to the tracks we want to send to. Just grab it and drag it from here to here. Notice the cursor changes to a patch cable, letting us know we're sending from this track to this track, where we drop our send. So if we let go, it creates a send right here. Now to get an idea how this works with more tracks, let's add a few more tracks to this project. Here we have the same piano, but we also have some drums and a synth. And together, it sounds like this. Let's create a bus where we can combine all these tracks together. Make a new track down here, name it bus, and instead of hearing the tracks over here, let's send it all to our bus. But instead of doing it one at a time from here and sending it to the bus, let's use a shortcut. Select these 3 tracks, hold down Shift, and drag the routing and drop it on the bus. And that creates sends for each one of these tracks. And we can see them right here, sending to the bus. But if we play it now, we're going to hear it from both places, from the individual tracks and also the bus. So let's turn it off on the individual tracks. Just select these 3, hold on the modifier, Alt on the PC or Option on the Mac, and click the routing button on the track. Now they're just sending to the bus, so we're only going to hear it from here. So you're probably wondering, why would you want to do that? Well, it's a great way of controlling all these tracks at the same time. We could adjust their volume with the fader, or the mute, or the pan, but we could also add effects to all the tracks at the same time, just by adding the effects to the bus. So let's go to the effects here, and let's choose the REAPER EQ right here, Re-EQ. And let's remove all the bands except for one, switch it to a high-pass filter, and now we can high-pass all 3 tracks at the same time. Or we could low-pass them, or we can compress them all at the same time. Let's delete this and add the Re-Comp, which is a compressor. And now we're compressing all 3 tracks together using a bus. But we could also run this bus in parallel, which means we can still hear the sound from the individual tracks while mixing it in from the bus. So let's switch this to a distortion plugin. We'll search in the filter, distortion, and let's choose distortion fuzz. Let's switch it to stereo, bring the fuzz down to about 3. Now it's going to be very distorted, like this. But we're hearing it on the whole sound. If you want to run it in parallel, just select these tracks again and turn back on the master parent send. Alt on the PC, Option on the Mac. Now we're hearing the sounds through their tracks. So we could blend in the distortion on the bus track. and create a parallel effect. Adding as much or as little as we want. Now we could also use sends and buses as effects returns. Let's delete this track, create a new one, and we'll name it reverb. Let's add a reverb effect to this track. Go right here, we'll go to the REAPER effects and choose reverbate, which is a reverb that comes with REAPER. Let's turn down the dry and double click the wet to bring it up. Now we're just going to hear the wet or the reverb sound through this track. But these tracks, we're going to hear the dry, which is why we turn down the dry on the plugin. Let's bring the size up a bit and bring down the dampening. Let's add some reverb to our drums. We'll drag the routing button and drop it over here, which creates the send. We can bring it up to taste. Now we add a reverb to our drums. And again, the reverb is coming from here, while the drums is coming from here, completely separate. Let's do the same with our synth. Drag and drop it to here. It creates a send right here. And we added reverb to our synth. We'll do the same with the piano. Drag and drop to create a send and bring it up to taste. Now let's hear it all together. And now we just created an effects send and an effects return right here. And one of the nice things about the routing is we can see all the receives in one place. Hit the button, which opens up the routing, and we can see there's no sends on the reverb track. There's just receives. Everything over here is duplicated from the individual sends on these tracks. From the piano, the drums, and the synth. We can see it all in one place as a receive on the reverb track. So we can readjust it right from here. On the drums, and the synth. So we can adjust it all in one place using the receives, which is also helpful if we created headphone mixes. Create a separate headphone mix for each artist. We can create a bus over here and adjust the mix in the receive section of that track, making it a lot easier to control a separate headphone mix. So that's pretty much it. That's the sends and buses in REAPER. I hope you learned something, hope you could use it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.